मतलब दिन के सिर्फ 2 ही मैचेस हो पाएंगे लाइक अगर किसी को बुक करना होगा तो?
हाँ भाई, दिन के सिर्फ 2 मैचेस।
भाई ऐसा क्यों किए यार?
भाई टाइमिंग क्लैश होती है ना भाई, फिर आप बाकी के मैच मिस कर दोगे। अगर एक बंदा अगर दो लॉबी बुक कर रहा है तो फिर दूसरा लॉबी के पहले मैच उसका मिस हो ही जाएगा, वो कुछ भी करेगा तो भी।
नहीं लाइक देखो ना अभी लॉबी 4 का लाइक रुको यार क्या है ये? वेट वेट। हाँ लॉबी 4 हाँ लाइक लॉबी 4 का भी देखा होगा तो ग्रुप 8 का स्टार्ट टाइम 8:30 पर 904 मिरामार। फिर लाइक ग्रुप 10 का 924 तो 24 मिनट में तो यार मिरामार खत्म भी हो जाएगा यार 14 मिनट में तो।
तुम समझ नहीं रहे भाई,
14
सब बंदे का ऐसा नहीं रहता ना, सब अलग अलग माइंड सेट के रहते हैं। तो ऐसा
हाँ तो फिर लॉबी 5 सो पाएगा फिर?
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं होगा। एक बंदा एक ही कर पाएगा भाई, दो का भी वो नहीं है सीन अभी, तुम समझो बात को।
अरे यार लॉबी 5 चलो ठीक है भाई।
जो रूल ही है भाई उसका।
टूर्नामेंट है
हाँ भाई
फिर उसका आईडीपी तो
वही।
इंडिया यूनाइटेड वाले डिस्कॉर्ड पे यहाँ पे आएगा।
वही आएगा भाई, वही आएगा।
Yeah, this one we had a circle that ended kind of in those fields that are southwest of Pachinki.
कब तक बैठता रहते हैं आप लोग?
Still
तब तक कुछ ना कुछ काम करता रहता हूँ, बैठा रहता हूँ उसमें क्या है।
गेम नहीं खेलता क्या?
तुम लाइट नहीं है भाई, अभी लाइट आया करे तो बिना लाइट के कैसे खेलूं मैं पता।
different ways that this can shake out at this event. Spyro just gonna be doing a little bit of chilling. Navi going for that.
फ्री रहता हूँ तो आ जाता हूँ,
सर्वर तो पहले लड़के वाला सर्वर ले आया।
फ्री नहीं रहता तो मैं नहीं जाता। फ्री रहता हूँ तो आ जाता हूँ, फ्री नहीं रहता तो नहीं आता।
Right side. मतलब लौड़ा कहीं पर नहीं आता। यहाँ काम होता आता भाड़ के फ्री होगा तो कहीं का मार नहीं। पूरा लौड़े लगा के नहीं
ये लाइव देख रहा चल रहा है बढ़िया से। आवाज जा रहा है, आवाज नहीं गया तो।
After a nice spin out, really well orchestrated there. They do a little bit of punishing onto AGAL, and then they're going to retreat back towards Milta.
And this is a very aggressive move coming out from Gen G, who are playing down next to Milta. They pushed all the way up next to like tunnels and everything else like that, and just to secure one. And AGAL, who was needing to get something rolling on the day, this is a terrible start.
I don't know what else to say. You're right. I mean,
Himos down first is painful, man.
No, dude, this is exactly what I was talking about, right? Like, they're losing players in the early parts of the games. They're not being as, coordinated and disciplined as they need to be. And maybe other teams are just seeing things that are sloppy in terms of their early game drops and how they're getting vehicles and where they're going after that. And Gen G just, said, hey, sometimes a coach will go in and they'll be like, hey, I think we can punish this team here because on this plane path, they're going to go for this vehicle. And that means they're going to not be able to get access to a gun quickly enough, and another other team might be around them.
And I love the fact that Gen G is coming in with confidence in game one. Another team coming in with confidence is going to be Full Sense with a Full Send right on top of Sharper. Thunder's trying to defend one side. Thunderwatt's taking a lot of damage. He's going to go down. Belmont's going to be the one that found him. And this is just going to quickly go Full Sense sided unless Thunders can get something to happen. He steps around, and he's going to go down too.
This is a great little punish here for Full Sense. You can see VP hovering off screen just a little bit, looking for an opportunity to maybe pick off a player, but because that was clean for Full Sense, they don't lose any players. I don't expect VP to really commit to this. I think they're just going to look and see if maybe they can find a punish. You can see the SKS in hand for bgmi at range, looking around for a potential target. He might be offered up an opportunity, not just yet. They're able to move the car around the corner, should be safe.
I don't necessarily fault VP for going for this one, but Full Sense having a pretty decent day yesterday, walking away with 24 points. They're going to need to step up that points per game to be a lot more comfortable for qualifications, because remember, there is no survival stage. There is nothing else other than the points that you get through groups. So it is the top 16 that go on. Doesn't matter what group it in. Doesn't matter how it's all come together. You just got to get points where you can find them. Full Sense on 24, you got to feel like that was a little bit more hazardous, but Lucarux does find out Belmont in the open. that was 2 free on the other side of the wall. You got to take that.
Well, this was well thought out by VP. Able to catch full sense and trying to position their cars into safer spots, and little do they know they weren't safe at all. So it's the hit and run for Virtus Pro. They will take their point and leave. Of course, as full sense, there could be an opportunity, who knows, to maybe get a revive in there somewhere, but they're quite far away. Meanwhile, the Supers having themselves, a 2-1-1 split. Essentially, they're going to leave a player up on the mountain, but there is a bunch of JDG up there. They're trying to get some scouting information, I believe, from Rex, who can be great in those 1vx scenarios, but you might not realize what he's going into up there.
I mean, Everest does give you a lot of control, so it's got enough space to where you can have a couple of teams kind of jockeyed up against each other, but look at the nades already prepped. Are they going to go a bit too far? Yeah, Rex going to be playing closer in position. He is very vulnerable up here. The more these nades pop off, the more problems going to start mounting. And even if he has to try to get out of this now, shots going to be coming out from JD Gaming, but on the lower section, Petrichor Road is already moving and might be able to cut off his escape.
Oh boy, he is lucky to get away there. Rex really nifty driving, had to go in reverse down that hill too. That is not easy at all. JDG had a moment, they did the damage, but they weren't able to take the point.
Quick update, we did see that Anyone's Legend managed to get Hamas back in. They went ahead, rezzed him, he's coming in on the helicopter in just 1 second. So regroup, get him some guns, maybe find some more points for that squad. Rotators right now are going to be, of course, AGAL. It's going to be right up next to Rozhok coming in. Falcons coming into the circle very slow, no rush at all. Pretty much the furthest squad out from this, as well as Jin G and VC just now touching the circle.
Yeah, it seems to be a lot more the MO for Falcons these days. They're happy to drop on the extremities. Talking to Gunnar a little bit about it. Part of it is just that way they don't have to mess with the hot drops at the global events as much. Like, they have a little more freedom. They learn how to play. If you're a good edge team, if you're an aggressive edge team, which we know they can be, they can take some points in the kill department, easy peasy. T1 does have a wide split vitality in front of them. Levante all on his own inside of that observatory, just over the other side of the hill. Quizzy down the road from him, but right now doesn't seem like T1 too keen to get aggressive. Can be a little tricky. There's a little bit of flat open space between you and this compound that he's in. For now, T1 just going to be chilling, taking their little ridge side. Pretty defendable there, as you can see. Have a lot of opportunities to kind of find some ways to hide, and as long as your back is clear, the top of that hill is safe.
Depending on how the circles go, Vitality is a great spot to pick up a couple more kills. Already prepping for the new circle pop that'll happen in about 30 seconds or so. It looks like JDG has managed to do an emergency pickup, but I think that might be a bit too fast. So I think that we'll have to see how the timing on it works. No, I take it back. I think that the timing for it should be just about right. So JDG can do an emergency pickup out of the top of Everest to kind of go wherever they need. And given how flat the circle is with the amount of fields in, no surprise. Late rotators and Falcons, like you were talking about, are going to be coming into this one perfectly timed. As the center meta is staying very strong. Most of our squads playing around there. It's just a little bit of external skirmishing going on as we stay near Everest and the fields.
And now you have some decisions to make as some of those teams in the center, like 17 Gaming, do you kind of coalesce into a 4-man, or you try to maintain your split that you have going in the dead center of that circle, maybe a 2-2, as I expect like the Supers to stick with. Petrichor Road is a similar idea. So a lot of teams trying to just maintain their hold on what they've taken. That's going to send Falcons a little bit up to the north, but here's a crash.
Right up on top of everybody, FullSense has one down, and it is a quick massacre coming up from T1. They wanted that, and they took it. Denadol's just running for his life on the outside of this. Nades raining down upon him. He is trapped, and FullSense is out early.
Nice crash here from T1. They find the weakened FullSense and eliminate them very quickly. And don't take too much damage. EN there. Nice grenade, nice shooting, along with raining to clear out that chopstick. And oh my goodness.
Oh, VP had monitor on this for a while, so with the change up in positionings, it's going to be Tyloo that came for it. VP playing the other side, just a couple of buildings between, though. It does look like it's a little bit more complicated to work around on the inside of this, as Tyloo pretty trapped. VP has so many external angles that they've got this under control with.
Yeah, this has been really well orchestrated so far by VP. They haven't taken any damage, substantial damage, I should say. A grenade at that door, just in case they were trying to make their approach, but Kong Kong gonna be backing off here just a little bit, trying to find a new angle, a new position. Just gonna be holding the line. Has a teammate above him, but if they clear him out, wouldn't be too surprised to see VP really try to take Tyloo out of this one.
I believe that we saw Lee playing on a glider earlier, so he's going to be external from this now, having just touched the ground. he could move into a backstab position onto VP, but it's hard to get over there. Mostly it's going to be Vicious taking a couple of shots as Lukrux got himself the bullet hose and ready for anybody to peek around, but it's going to be a nade coming out, getting the knock onto Lukrux.
Yeah, that might buy enough time here for that backstab to come through. Another big grenade there. Really scary stuff for Virtus Pro. Trying to find an angle in. Hausker looking to set up a smoke. Trying to over-aggress on that angle. No, they're just going to try to cut this off.
Oh, but VC is coming back behind this one. That might be a big problem for Lee if he doesn't make sure that he monitors that. I think he spotted it. But this backstab now having a big problem. That means that the two players for Tyloo have to deal with VP in a much closer range threat. No form of assistance from the outside. And VC looks like they're going to set up. Maybe they start taking a couple of shots, but no, it is going to be Nixie that gets Kong Kong down.
Now Virtus Pro should really try to remove Tyloo from the equation right now. Hausker is taking a ton of damage from Util. In fact, going to be knocked by that blue zone grenade. Meanwhile, VC out in the open. Tycon looking to get ahead out there. Lee has dodged VC for now. He's able to kind of scoot off towards the east and avoid any contact with him. Lukarok's able to find a big knock on a Duckmai, and that means that they are going to have to kind of take a step back and wait this out.
I mean, this was just so cleanly played coming up from VP. They saw the vehicles rotate. They were already using the external walls for defense. Even with the knock, they managed to rally it together, get themselves back into a good position. This location now firmly on lockdown. VC doesn't feel safe making an approach anymore. They're going to hop in their vehicles. They're going to rotate away, and poor old Lee is just kind of trapped over here now.
Lee is a lot of tough decisions to make, and now you're in kind of salvage mode. Are you going to be able to get anything put together? Should be mentioned that Hemas was revived for AGAL, so he will be back into the equation. Maybe not, as well geared, I should say, as some, but should be a-okay.
He did spend some time over in Rozhok with some friends, so I think that he might be pretty okay. Vitality is going to go up right next to Chopsticks. Looks like Nixie's also going to do the same. A little bit of jockeying for position around that. We also did see T1 take the northern section of the western Chopstick. Now, also having Everest kind of leave the territory means that JDG still has one of their players back, but Falcons are wanting to use it to get a little bit of high ground control and vision before they jump into the circle and kind of figure out what the lay of the land is in front of them.
Yeah, and it should give them a little bit of info now as to where exactly JDG is going to be set up. Based on where that car is going to be driving off to. You can see Kickstart immediately kind of recognizes that he's going to have a little bit of free space in front of him with that hillside that cuts off the compound from JD Gaming, and going to be using that at least to do a little bit of scouting, a little bit of peacocking out there from the top as well.
Some gatekeeping that's going on as VC can't really find any way to approach. Gatka proper is open with Sharper having just two players over there right now, and I think that they've managed to explore that, figure it out. Shadow also has to figure out how to get in the circle. They're right on the edge of it with their compounds, but it's a little bit dicey as they do have Super on one side of them and Falcons on the other. But, I mean, Simon for VC is going all the way back up to Everest. The other players just, they can't find a path into this at all.
Well, Simon is trying to get some info for them, I believe, trying to find some open space in the circle that his team can get into, and if they can't, they just got to group up and take a fight. So that may be plan B. If you could kind of suss out that it's Shadow Esports in that compound, maybe you try to take that fight. The Supers have grouped up into 4 players inside of those blue houses that are up on that hill, so it is going to be VC on the edge.
So we've got essentially a Chopsticks game that's brewing. So T1 in a great position, 17 in a great position for it. Shadow taking the shots at VC, keep corralling them on one side. VC can kind of go up and touch a little bit of Everest and, yep, rotate right back down into it, but that's going to put them on the Supers pathing. There is no way to really make it past this unless you just run right by the Supers as fast as possible. Remember, Supers have been taking shots over at Shadow, so I think that they can squeeze by here. You're now in the fields. Where do you go? If you keep going south, it's right into T1. If you go for the compounds, it's going to be 17.
Yeah, I think the edge of the hill here is about the best you're going to get with the tractor and the hay bales potentially, or are they just going to keep going and try to crash something? Or maybe the other Chopstick very open. Nice find here for VC, actually.
Oh, they squeak it through, and the new circle pops. They're barely in it. Chopsticks just entirely abandoned by the circle, and it is just fields galore in the center of this one. Navi already on the move. Jinji on the other side of it. 17 regrouping, and it looks like those two squads are running right for the same compound.
No doubt. Pretty funny to watch the Supers there just turn right around to the compound, and here we go. Already a couple down. Bean ran over his teammate. He's going to go down to Ferris. Oh. A huge grenade from Spyro takes down Soul and Gen G on their last legs.
Na'Vi just comes in full control on it, finally starting to have a couple of knocks as Salute manages to make some magic happen, but he is in a ton of trouble the way that this is all set. Akatar already knows where he's at. Looks like he's just doing a nade just to make sure and keep some control over the territory. So Salute's got one building, but the way that this has all gotten set up, it's pretty much Akatar versus Salute and nowhere else to really go. Oh, Nate's going to bounce pretty awry on that. Is anyone's legend now going to get involved? Nowhere else to go. It's time to just crash.
Now, BP's here, too. They've seen that kill feed. They know where this fight is happening. Salute runs out of ammo. They're going to drop downstairs to try to hold the line. AGAL taking down Na'Vi. Salute able to weaken them up enough that he's maybe bought himself a little bit more time in this game, but how much is that going to matter?
VP, AGAL squads that played yesterday, needing some more right now. Na'Vi in trouble right in front of VP, and AGAL still just trying to deal with Salute on the other side of it. Finally, he goes down. It is going to be Hamas that manages to get him. Na'Vi still just trying to deal with all the utility being thrown right on top of him, and VP is just absolutely massacring anything that they come in contact with.
Yeah, playing a really aggressive game here today, and AGAL, though, able to take a slightly better position as far as the circle is concerned. A little bit of a better angle as things go along, and plus VP still has to clean out that second story in their house. It'll be a little bit tricky with AGL having oversight, but Paris actually takes down Hamas there. So all of a sudden, things may be a little bit easier. Let's see what Paris has in store for us.
I mean, he's got the stairwell. He's just dropping smokes, trying to stall this out as much as possible, but VP has enough controlled territory that they can play around the external sections of the building. Looks like maybe trying to prep up to see if they can get some nades onto those points. Already realizes where Delwyn is, and Ferris, man, he is just being a problem for anyone's legend. VP just kind of letting him do the work.
He's now kind of really annoyed both teams that are around him still, and they want to get him dealt with. Nixie went for the grenade outside, but couldn't get it to connect, and they still don't have that confidence to try to make the push up the stairs, trying to work it out.
Well, I mean, VP can't. They're afraid if they make the push up and Ferris gets the knock onto one of them, anyone's legend's just going to pounce right back behind it. Ferris knows this, so he's just trying to keep control on one side. Luke Rux does get him on the outside, so finally getting some control over that building. AGAL having a much bigger lion's share of the compounds, though.
Yeah, the fact that VP doesn't take any damage from Ferris there is really, really nice in terms of having, a bunch of players knocked and they can't get back to 4. They get back up and running, and like you said, very important that they have all their players up, and they have that BRDM, so they have an escape valve. They don't necessarily have to take that fight against AGAL unless they really, really want to, and it gives you some safety if you do.
Feels like they want it. Delwyn going to be down. Hamas going to be holding the windows. Nixie going to be the guy peeking one side of it. This feels like we're moving into fields, so get what you can get before you walk into the killing fields. How these nades going? Not connecting as much as they want. Just still peeking around the windows galore on all the sides of it. Nixie, though, getting a ton of information on this movement.
Yeah, he has taken quite a bit of damage, but you're exactly right. That information led to Corexi being able to coordinate with the frags, get that first big knock onto AGAL. The fight can continue. Look who's showing up behind this, though. Lee might have something to say about this, but more players dropping for AGAL. BGMI getting 2.
Now it is just down to Moss. The guy that went down early does manage to get Delwyn back up, but where do you even go? It feels like every single window when he goes for peeks, there's nades rolling in on top of him, and he's got to be so cautious. Smokes everywhere, visibility near on not. He's just going to start holding the stairwell as Delwyn's going to go down, and he's back by himself.
My eyes just look to Lee. He's just going to use this opportunity to just try to sneak by this fight, but Hamas with a pump shotgun, very concerning. As VP, you got to be worried that you might overcommit to this fight. You've already taken 3 down. Look at Lee. Is he going to steal it? Okay, I thought for a second he might steal the BRDM.
I like this from VP. They want to get timing on the circle. They did the damage. Hamas is just going to be up by himself. They know that. Lee's just going to go right up in front of him, maybe eat a couple of bullets for him. VP, though, maybe looking to finish out what they start a little while, as Nade's going to be prepped up from Lee. What are you going to do against that BRDM? 17 now taking shots at both these roaming targets. It is going to be Vitality that has the center of the circle, while back behind all this, Hamas has spotted out Vicious making a rotate.
Petrichor Road trying to hold the line between a couple different teams. The Falcons looking up and over this hill very, very shortly. Chewy throws the molly to try to get something done, but it is Shremzy with the AUG who pops up and takes Chewy down.
Yeah, Petrichor Road, JDG, Falcons all having to move away from different angles. Specifically to the west, it's going to be Supers right in the center of the circle. Vitality has vision on what's going on over here. So Falcons, while they've got the high ground for now, know that they've got a lot of threats very, very close. Wouldn't be surprised if they just try to sweep this one out, see if they can finish off Petrichor Road, maybe Nons as well.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
No problem at all for Kick. Gets the grenade right where it needs to be. Still have JDG up on the edge of this hill that has to be dealt with. Should be pretty doable for the Falcons, you would think, but Tiggleton getting lit up by a bunch of different teams. I mean, there are 4 different teams shooting at him.
Oh, Nons! Big play comes up at the end and ruins Falcons' day. Tig now down, getting flushed out. It is everybody in the lobby. 17 Vitality, as well as VP, all just trying to decimate Falcons.
Oh, that was a push that had to happen for the Falcons. They had to go for kills. Let's see. Kickstart's going to be able to hang on, get a little bit further, get some more points into this one. Supers now as well need to be making a move as 17 south of the circle. Looking to try to sneak in behind Virtus Pro and Vitality. Supers, I don't know how much they're going to have to work with here. They should still have some vehicles, you would think. They've been hanging out of that compound for quite some time.
I don't know if vehicles matter in this circle because it is really flat. Hay bales. I mean, there's that little bit of a ridge that we saw Falcons trying to play, but you just saw what happened whenever Falcons tried to move over there. If Supers tries to wrap down to the south, they're just going to bump into 17, who still needs to get in the circle. So right now it's VP, Vitality, EU complete control over the circle. While we've got T1, I mean, 17 having to move a little bit, but 17 at least knows where the threats around them are.
Yeah, I mean, as Supers, you're trying to go somewhere on that northern edge. I mean, you're going to have great vision into this circle at the very least, and you can kind of piece out what hay bales are still going to be there, what little dips and things like that you can just kind of hang on to, where you can start digging your trenches with the picks. If you can find those open opportunities. And you're looking for a timing here while 17 is trying to make their way in. Here we go, the big wrap.
Where are you going to go? If they go to the north, they're going to have a lot of firing lines thrown at them. VP is a bit more focused on 17 right now, so there's some movement to happen over here. They're just barely getting inside the circle. The smidgen of a ridge going to be enough. You can see bullets already cascading down on top of them, but now T1 has a denied angle of approach. If they crest the top of that hill, it's going to be Supers that absolutely demolish them. While Supers, you're in the circle, but there is so little vision to be had, and T1 going to be walking right into their waiting arms as there's just nowhere to really go.
I haven't seen Vitality looking in this direction at all. I think if T1 kept going directly east, they might actually be able to catch Vitality a little bit off guard. I mean, they're so dialed in on what's happening with 17 Gaming and Virtus Pro, but here, you're just trying to play chicken with the other teams. You're trying to outweight them make the first move so you can come in to the party last.
Boy, we going old school PUBG right now, using these like bush lines that are set up inside the fields to try to creep through. Full stealth coming up right now for T1. Rex has actually gone over and gotten the crate, so that's going to give them another foothold position to play, as now 17 Gaming has to figure out where do they go. They've got a trench that's kind of dug themselves. It's enough for some safety for now, but Supers does spot out the stealthy T1, so stealth fails in the end as bullets just rain down upon him.
Oh man, and Rex has a Lynx. He's putting it to good use against Virtus Pro. He's going to find the big knock onto Lucarux, looking for Nix. He doesn't get him and gets taken down by Hello My Bad.
That shield coming up just in time, as well as providing enough safety. T1 in a ton of trouble. Vitality, who's been playing the center point for so long, has just got turreting position. They just got to spin on every single angle. Looks like 17 is trying to get closer and closer. See if they can maybe aggress onto the Vitality defensive line. Circle pops, and it goes down to the south. That means that Supers getting control over that crate at least is going to get them close to the circle.
Yeah, and now Vitality has to try to deny 17 some kind of entry. They've been trenching their way a little bit further forward so they can get into grenade range and try to displace them, and they're already landing some good ones. Quizzy down.
Winbow manages to drop it. Here comes another follow-up. Looks like the Molotov's going to be just a smidge too short. Levante's just got way too many targets in front of him, and the smoke line for 17 is a bit further out. Looks like maybe they were trying to prep it out for a run, but instead it's just going to be nades landing down onto that spot, opening up more cover for 17 to work with if they want it.
Yeah, this is pretty well thought out here by 17. They've been able to keep themselves very much alive. The Super still trying to get Rex back onto his feet. I think they just are able to get there, but they're taking a lot of damage along the way because everybody else has been able to dig in, find spots inside of the circle, or create some safety of their own. And that has made it very, very difficult for them, still being on the outside looking in. Another crate going to be dropping in just ahead of them. I mean, it's a little bit of extra cover. You'll take anything you can get as the Supers. You can see there's a couple Doritos up there even for them to work with. But again, like you've been talking about, it's not much, man.
It's just flat dips, whatever you've dug into. And Vitality's been here for a long time. As you can see, this is why I was thinking they were starting shooting as much as they were, because it's just too many targets around them. And again, another knock, more meds, more armor being burned. I'm worried about the attrition and really how long Vitality's been here and how long they can keep up the defense, specifically against Supers, who just keeps finding crates galore and manages to find ways to fight their way in.
Yeah, it's been rough sledding. Their armor and other things, but a good grenade from Guman. Find Nixie. Is he going to be able to get the flush off the back of it? No. The follow-up grenade, not quite where it needed to be. Lucarux, in the meantime, gets back up to that first aid level of health and looking to maybe res Nixie if possible.
We're in a bit of a paper, rock, scissors style moment right now where we've got VP eyes on the Supers. They can't move too much because they're in nade range from the Supers. No real capabilities for movement as we're just in a very flat section. So if you've got any way to dig, you can see that that is just the only moment of reprieve that you get. 17 all stacked together. Little Ghost going to be down back behind him as it is going to be Nixie just lighting up. Supers gets 2 knocks, but Vitality can't get any control angles on it as Hell My Bad's trying to creep over there. Just nothing being revealed for him, though.
Yeah, the fact that the Supers couldn't follow up onto that knock onto Nixie quickly enough has caused them to hemorrhage a couple players. Nixie will be knocked again, but still, it's going to be VP hanging on quite nicely. And now Hello My Bad trying to finish the Supers off. Cannot do so. Heaven going to be able to stay behind the safety of some of these crates and other things that have, again, just barely given Supers enough entry into the previous circle, but they have further to go to get into Circle 8.
I mean, Vitality's just barely in the circle. They've got no smokes from what I've seen left. Just a couple of bullets to work with. 17's going to be pushing from the south. You have to assume it's going to be on the Vitality line. Do they have enough tools to work with? I mean, Vitality really wanted to deal with Supers, but they couldn't. VP is just comfy, cozy over there into the east by comparison. They've got a good double up with eyes onto Supers. They've got Beamy with pretty much center control going on right now, and Corexy that's just supervising what's going on between 17 and Vitality.
Yeah, and you can see Xiao Wu is on sapper duty here, trying to dig his way forward for his team. What in the world, Rex? Just found a huge grenade. That was that dip that Lucarux and Nixie were sitting in, and all of a sudden the Supers may have just bought themselves an extra life in this game.
But look at the path that they have to walk through. There is nothing in front of them. Not even any shrubberies to use. It's just going to be full run and gun. If they lean Vitality side, there's not a lot really going on over there, so maybe they can find some way to just push their way in. Rex down to just one more shot, but he's got eyes on to VP. VP just trying to cling to life over here to see if they can get the shots onto it. Corexy's got himself a good angle, but Xiao Wu finds Hello My Bad. That's the northern part of what's going on with Vitality. Is that going to be the go signal for the push? And yes, it is.
All right, here we go. 17 throwing those stuns out early. Wenbo able to take Levante down. Another one goes in. It's Beamy helping out. 17 Gaming just a little bit here, but Quincy springs into action. Tian can't quite find the finish just yet. Looking for that final bullet. Is he going to get it?
Somehow Vitality survives with the assistance on the outside from VP and Supers. Now it's VP full focused, 15 kills. These guys are fragging out on this lobby. Super's got nowhere to go. The Dorito, not enough cover.
Yeah, and that's a huge knock because the timing here getting very dire for the Supers. The blue is just onto Heaven's back, and he's going to be taken down there. Yeah, can't get any further forward. They go down in third.
How many more kills can we see VP get as it is Beamy just charging to the center of the circle, using the cover that he's got set up over there, peeking back on over into a very weakened Vitality, backs up against the blue zone, and not much that they can really do to walk out as they manage to find a smoke, but can they even find the angle that they need to take down Beamy?
Beamy still one more stun, and that's a big kill on the Levante.
Just keep chaining them together. This is just brutal. Creeping forward, there is nowhere to go, and that is going to be VP with a big win.
That's exactly what the doctor ordered. A team that started out looking pretty good yesterday and couldn't quite keep it together as the day went through, and they come out swinging. Love the early aggression that we saw from the beginning to the end of that game. VP was taking fight after fight and winning them so cleanly, so well, and that's what allowed them to get into that late stage, have 4 players up, have their spot dug into that circle already, and they're able to hold the line.
What did they end at, 16 kills? Something like that? Idea going for you right now is that VP, where we were talking about a bit underperforming from our expectations with them yesterday, they got 35 points on the day. They just got 26 in one game. That's the VP I was expecting.
They just sent themselves into the grand finals. I mean, I think that's basically guaranteed now.
This is just a ridiculously good performance, and kudos to everybody else that managed to find ways to make something work, because we saw Supers were just trying to chase the circle for so long inside that, and Vitality, while they did get into position early, there was just like nothing for them to find. There was no crates, no nothing.
Yeah, I mean, Vitality had to defend
When I see him, I'm going to
against a
stun
lot
him
of teams.
together, okay?
It's here.
Was that
That
Nixie?
sounded like Nixie.
That was a Nixie if I've ever heard it right there.
I want to give Vitality a lot of credit. They were dealt a really tough situation there because there were a lot more teams that had to try to fight through them than VP. So they were defending on like 3 different angles.
Yeah, they had Supers that were messing with them, 17 that was making the foot push that was right on top of them. And again,
T1 back there for a while.
They just didn't have a lot to work with because they were having to take care of so many threats around them. And yeah, Vitality is another squad that played yesterday and needs to find points. So a later stage performance coming in from them, absolutely big. As let's go ahead and toss it back over to the studio.
Everyone is playing, you're not yet. EWC Play is your all-in-one platform to compete in fantasy, pick'em, and quests for a grand total of $300,000 in prize pool. Build your dream fantasy team in 5 different games and track your score with live results tables. Predict the winner of every game, every group stage, and every tournament. Complete daily and weekly challenges to earn boosters that help you climb the global leaderboard. Got what it takes? Join EWC Play now.
Hey, Kalaris here at the Esports World Cup for 2026, and I've got myself Salute here as well as Maddox to do the translations here before day number 2's games do start things off. So my first question for Salute, of course, is coming into day 2, which is their first day of gameplay, how is Gen.G feeling about their preparation and going into these first games?
일단 살로스 선수 첫 번째 질문은 일단 오늘 파리 경기장 와서 오늘 첫날 또 경기신데 지금 기분이 어떠시고 좀 어떻게 준비하실지 궁금합니다.
일단 파리의 날씨가 너무 좋기 때문에 컨디션이 너무 좋고 그 다음에 경기장이 EWC에서 너무 좋은 데를 제공해줘가지고 좀 마음 편히 준비를 하고 있는 것 같습니다.
Yeah, I mean, the Paris atmosphere is very good, and the weather is really clear. So, yeah, I mean, feeling really great. And also, the EWC actually provided a really good stadium for us. So, yeah, it's actually a very good atmosphere to prepare.
Fantastic. And I guess my follow-up question to that is, did you guys get to watch a lot of what was going on yesterday? And what do you think about some of the performances from those teams? And are you concerned about some of those teams?
이제 두 번째 질문으로는 이제 어제 경기 한번 보시면서 이제 슬슬 준비하셨을 텐데 어제 경기 중에서 좀 이 팀은 진짜 좀 걱정된다, 이 팀은 진짜 경기해야 되는 팀이다라는 팀이 있었는지 궁금합니다.
일단 저번 대회 때부터 좀 미스 팀이 되게 잘해진 것 같고 굉장히 경계되는 팀인 것 같습니다. 굉장히 현재 폼이 좋고 4명 다 자기 위치에서 할 거를 다 잘하기 때문에 그 팀이 현재 제일 잘하지 않나라고 생각을 하고 있습니다.
Yeah, since the last PGS, I think Myth has been definitely a titan. So yeah, I think their gameplay is really great. Their form, all of their 4 players' form is actually really great here, and also their cohesive plays are actually showing off. So yeah, I think that Myth is actually the one to look for.
Makes a lot of sense. All right, 감사합니다. Thank you very much. Gosu, the flute. Oh, so good.
Gen.G, what a win. Interview, please. No, come back, please.
It's okay, Kalaris. You got your chance to do the interview. But if you're VP, if you were able to do the pick'ems earlier on, you're feeling quite happy right now because this was a squad that was averaging about 5.8 points, and they absolutely smacked it coming into this one. Welcome back, everybody, to 7WG, joined by Godspeed, Lays, and Toffees. Lays, VP showed up today.
Yeah, look, after I'm not even going to say it wasn't a bad day yesterday, right? It was mediocre, a little bit mid-range, but I feel like because they witnessed Twisted Minds and Myth and they know where the goalposts are. They came out exactly how they needed to and prioritized eliminations in this one because they know what they need to catch from the other groups. And look, I'm feeling just a little bit bad for Group C at the moment because, you know, they're just coming into this chaos. But my God, BGMI! 1,000 damage coming out of that game. I think they hit just over 15 eliminations when I was sitting there. And of course, I fucking got
An earned chicken, right?
I earned a chicken dinner, like... Oh my God, what a great start for VP.
It was. I mean, 7 kills for BGMI alone, phenomenal. But a lot of that for me came out of that sort of kerfuffle at, I'll call it yellow marker, because that's all anybody ever puts when they rotate. It's like, go to yellow. It's a crappy compound to be in. But what we saw happen there was that sort of Na'Vi fight with Gen G opened the doors for a lot of different teams to come in on Crash or Transition. VP left before killing the last man, and they did it at the right time. That put him in a great spot, and that BRDM let him stop right on top of Tyloo, who had just gone through the trouble of digging a hole with a grenade to lay down. They were like, oh, well, thank you, Tyloo. We will take that spot.
And that was the crazy thing about that game as well, as we look at the leaderboard here with 27 points for Virtus Pro. I mean, they, as you stated, in that compound, they had to deal with AJAL. They had to somewhat deal with Na'Vi. They had to deal with Gen G, right? All those teams are coming down to the southwest. Well, I'm saying VP had to deal with all those teams as they were down there, and then they got that BRDM. They were able to shift into that field, which I also just want to talk about this as well, right? Like, how many times, Steve, would we have seen that field ending before and be like, man, it's just cooked for all the teams out in the open. The fact that there is now deflades and the nades can create cover. You have a pickaxe. This is so cool for me to see because before these fields were it was just death, and now teams are finding cover, creating plays. It's so sick.
So, Seven, I know that you haven't had a chance to be on this patch since they added the digging.
Yep, I love it.
This game was a showcase.
Probably one of the coolest.
Exactly.
additions.
These fields traditionally have just been an absolute, I mean, honestly, terrible
Just
situation
dead.
to find yourself in.
Yep. Yeah.
The fact that 17 lasted as long as they did, the fact that Soup on the north side, I thought they were cooked early, but the Soup boiled over. They got in the circle, they dug the hole, and they made it work. So I do think this has been a pretty good case study for how the pickaxe, how the destructible trade can be a benefit.
I think it's one of the best additions they've added, personally.
And when I was talking with Kalaris yesterday after the show, he asked me, what is the one thing that you're enjoying the most so far? I was like, the digging. It just changes the dynamics so much of certain areas. We got a chance to see it yesterday, but as you guys just mentioned, we just saw it perfectly in that scenario. And the BRDM, I want to see a little bit more of that splat maker because I wanted to see them being able to run some people over with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that BRDM has been a huge staple so far this game. Yeah,
I'm not the biggest fan of it.
Historically, Godspeed has not been a BRDM lover. And it has gotten stronger with the nerf to the Panzerfaust. There's a few less counters. But it's been very good. We've seen it over and over again. I do think, sometimes the pickaxe a bit overpowered. Maybe a few changes for like the durability or things like that would be good. But the holes, I love the fact that we can change the terrain.
Yeah.
I also want to give a shout. Another thing that was added not long ago was res beacons. We saw a trap at a res beacon in that game, and we'll get back to that. But right now, props for Virtus Pro, man. 7 kills for BGMI.
That's what you were talking about too, Lace. BGMI with those 7 kills. And honestly, a good pick-me-up and a great start for this squad, considering what was happening yesterday. As you were mentioning, not really one of the best days. Today, they started off hot.
Yeah, and like I said, they really need to have that momentum because, they know what's coming for them in these other groups, and they really did hone in on those eliminations and all those kills there. But I sort of want to move more maybe to our teams that didn't do so well and that I had on my books.
My favorite segment.
My favorite segment. The losers. So I had high hopes for Gen G. They came out, got their first elimination on AGAL. It was looking kind of bright for them. We've got 2 of our Korean teams here today. T1 as well, sort of facing it off. T1 actually did a lot better than I thought they would. They were more up that leaderboard with about 9 points left over. But this Gen G, not a great start for them. It was looking like they were sort of going to move up there. But honestly, Salute was holding that team together in that entire game. But unfortunately, I guess that confrontation where we had, it was AGAL and then VP and obviously all those third parties, it just wasn't looking good for them. I did have high hopes that Salute could get out of that situation due to the third party arriving, but it just didn't plan out that way.
The problem for me, and I'm glad you brought up Gen G, is that their whole year has just been disappointing. When you look at the roster, you have Bean, you have Salute, you have Soul, right? You have D. These are players that in their I say in their prime, they're really not that far off it, or if they're not still in it. I mean, these are players. Salute at one point with Soul was one of the best players in the world. Like, Soul was one of the best players in the world, right? We all said it. He's incredible. Him and Tig had a little set off. Where is that? I need to see that.
They just brought back this roster, no? They sort of
but
rekindled it.
all year they have been floundering, and I need to see something more. This is the biggest test they're going to have, and so far, the first game wasn't great. Now, I have to give him a caveat because that circle was rough. That whole circle, Steve, we saw a lot of teams having to go. Those fields traditionally underneath Everest have always been really rough to play around. So, I mean, you got to give him a pass, I guess. I guess.
That's right. I mean, I want to see team not be getting a pass in AGAL. I want to see a little bit more out of that
squad. They need more, too.
They have 5 more matches left, and it's not going to be enough. But I know we do have something awesome coming this year, and that is none other than ENC.
That's right, ENC is coming your way a little bit later on during the year here, as I have got Porosaurus here to... Why is everyone so tall?
I don't know, buddy.
Or why am I so small? But, of course, ENC on the way. I mean, talking about those regions that are going to be kind of representing, especially across PUBG, who are you looking at to be able to challenge for a title?
I mean, look, coming off of a massive PNC win, obviously everybody's looking at Brazil, but I feel like that might have been a once-in-a-blue moon, just exciting thing. I think you really got to look at Thailand, you got to look at Vietnam, China, South Korea, basically the East, right? If you're looking at, if you want to put all your chips in the right spot, but you never know. I mean, the West has something to say about it sometimes.
Yeah, I'm going to slightly disagree. I think the West has got some power. You think that Brazil might be once in a blue moon, and they looked good being able to do it over at PNC. At the same time, though, EMEA is able to represent in quite a big way as well. If you think about those individual components that will get a chance at ENC compared to some of our prior ones, you've got guys like Nixie and the boys able to put up some kind of numbers as well. So I think there'll be some big challenges. Thanks, Poro, for joining me here. It is time to head over to the casters here for our next game of the day.
Bye. Thank you so much. Super hyped for ENC this year. Yeah, okay, we just had PUBG Nations Cup, but I love whenever we watch what's going on with Esports World Cup in general. Now getting another, I guess, a different flavor. You know, we got some vanilla, got some chocolate going on, mix it up, get some fun going on with this one, because we just did the qualifiers for that. I think it was me and Poro, and it was just so fun already.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's going to be a great event, just top to bottom. It's so much more interesting in a way, because it's different than what we're used to, where teams can just kind of bring anyone together from around the world and put together these great teams that we get to see here at EWC, at ENC. It's all that country pride, it's all those things on the line, and the stakes are going to be so high. Everybody's going to want to be gunning for that big prize that you can get if you win. So we'll have to wait and see. But this plane path, pretty fair, right down the middle-ish, a little bit east, but pretty reachable for most of the drop spots on Taego.
Do we get another Northern Taego? Because while we've gotten the double up on Taego, it feels like it just keeps pulling back over. It's one of two things. We either get Song On with like 50% of it water, or we are up next to Shipyard and Army Base. It's kind of just abandoned the center of it, which I don't have a problem with. That's kind of one of the worst areas that I don't really like to play in Taego.
Ah, okay. I mean, I kind of like most of Taego. Actually, the only place I don't like is the swamps by Hosan Prison. That part is not fun to play.
I kind of like that area because you can do like all the foot pushes around on those little mini hills.
Yeah.
Now, competitively, it's a lot harder, of course.
Yeah, it's the driving, actually, that ends up just getting down over there, I guess. We're up by Shipyard again, though, so Gen G, that's been their drop spot here for this game, and Falcons going over to the airport, and they will be A-OK once they get situated.
I love how the fact a lot of players joke that they don't like to go airport on this map because it feels like they're cursing themselves to go to the airport early if they go there. But Falcons, not necessarily too afraid to play around it, feeling pretty good. This is a circle where we don't have too many teams in it. I mean, really, we've got, a little bit of T1, but Gen G is going to have inside track on good positioning. While we've got the map up, I want to point out there's a whole bunch of kind of flatter, more open terrain, of course, over into the east, leading into and around airport. But whenever we come into Shipyard, that territory just to the south of it has got this, I don't want to say big hill, but biggish hill that's over there that a lot of teams can kind of fortify around in different sections of, and kind of creates a fortress for everybody that's kind of playing in the, I guess, the river that's more to the south, it's more open and flat, and then to that eastern territory.
Yeah. The hill around it is one of the bigger ones on Taego for sure. And there's a decent amount of trees and other things to work with. That's up by the at Shipyard Hill. So there is a lot of room in this circle, even though there's quite a bit of water. There's still options. They aren't great in some cases, where you might have to kind of hang out at the edges of the fields that have kind of those berms on the outside of them that you can try to hide underneath and wait things out a little bit, try to make your moment. But the real thing I have in mind right now is the fact that this circle is so far away from everybody. Like you mentioned earlier, not a lot of teams starting in it means that there could be one of those situations where teams run into each other while they're rotating or something like that.
Well, I mean, look, this is a early emergency pickup already called from 17 Gaming. I guess maybe wanting to go to the opposite side of the circle. No harm in that. You know, if you go to the eastern area of Shipyard, you can get your back up against the water, push in, know the fact that you don't have to scout as much, going to make you feel a little bit safer. Maybe this is just going to be one of those things where you have a couple players go up, or nope, it is a full commitment. I was going to say maybe they're just doing some scouting with it. Nah, they want to avoid all of the mess, because we have been seeing Shipyard a lot this year, and it is just dicey over there, man. I mean, we just talked about PUBG Nations Cup. Brazil had a massive game coming out of Shipyard.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can fight out a Shipyard pretty well. Again, going uphill in a situation like this, a little bit easier sometimes, especially with the amount of cover that you're going to be afforded in parts of this area of the map. So, yeah, I think what 17's doing perfectly fine. I wouldn't be surprised to see them, like you mentioned, go to the complete opposite end here. They're going to see Gen G underneath them, kind of center-ish. So I wouldn't think that that would be where they want to get out. I think one of them just got tagged in the middle of the air, poor guys.
Falcons rotated really quick away from airport. They already have Gustav that's got a foothold in those hills that we were talking about south of Shipyard. But it looks like they've got a couple of rotation options. I think that they're just going to get more control over that southeastern hillside. A couple other squads going to be rotating over there pretty close to it. Petrichor Road going to be right back behind it. Tyloo actually has one Dragon that got stuck behind Petrichor Road. So the rest of the squad going to be in front is, yeah, 17's pulling, and they are going as far to the northeast as you can get on this map.
Yeah, I think this makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Looking for maybe some vehicles that didn't get scooped up along the way, and, you know, Wenbo's already got one for the team, and VC going to roll into Shipyard proper, try to figure out if anybody's in here. Genji has a player close. It's Bean and somebody else over there with him. Looks like D, as they went into a 2-2, but they're going to drive away from this. Don't want to give Vicious Esports an opportunity to find a free pick or something like that. Or maybe they're just going to spread out a little bit. They're leaving D on his own.
So while we're looking at what's going on with the circle, also remember that we do have, I guess, the river that turns into the dried river. That's a big core component of this circle, going down into the south, and the territory that's just going to be to the west of that, that's also incredibly hilly. We don't know how the circles are going to pop, because remember, these are the new circles. For all we know, we could go back over to the west of Shipyard, just because why not? Really Super is the only squad that's playing over there right now. I dare you to cross that bridge next to Shipyard. It's not going to feel good, and I don't think that they're going to go that route. But we've got a lot of late rotators down to the southwest, where we can see Full Sense about to make their move. Anyone's Legend's going to be very close to them. Sharper's going to be back behind that. Even Shadow down there, is a lot of squads are like, nah, man, I don't even want to go center on this one. I'm just waiting for Circle 2.
This is what I'm a little worried about for Gen G, is D's all on his own. He needs to get the heck out of here, man. He is getting surrounded. He's going to have to do some damage.
This is a very interesting push coming out from VC. They see an opportunity. They abandon Shipyard. They go for the hillside, get themselves a decent spot. D's going to be playing the other side of it for now, but this is pretty vulnerable, specifically with 17. Hearing this firefight, they're also moving in pretty close. So the longer this goes in, I like this. A side rat coming in from Gen G on the side flank of it. D is going to go down. Is this going to pull Gen G off of it? No, they're going to commit. Bean gets down, duck by.
Well, they have to at this point. I mean, D was dead to rights if they didn't get there quick, and being able to at least buy a little bit of extra time. Tycon will at least take the point for now. VC has established themselves. They've got their position taken, and Gen G has to retreat, so that's going to be blue chip on the ground.
I like this from Gen G. They wanted to go for D, see if they can maybe get him out. Yes, they have a high ground position over that compound, but they know too many people are going to be vying for positions on this hillside, so they need to get out very quickly. 17's already just going to be in the north of them. Vitality already over into the east. To the south, it's going to be Falcons, and T1 kind of close as well. So abandoning that position, while it did cost them D, does also mean the fact that they can get into a better defended position for all of their neighbors that are due to start messing with them sooner or later.
I think the mistake there is just leaving D in the beginning, and I talked about when VC goes into Shipyard, that compound that D is in is actually pretty easy to encroach upon from the Shipyard spot. So that's exactly what happened. When you're on your own, you can't really defend that.
Super is going in for an entirely different strategy right now, as it looks like it's all the way up into the north of Shipyard entirely. They're out in the water. They're going to go ahead and wrap into that section of it. Should be pretty okay. So with VC kind of abandoning this spot, Super's going to find it for near on free.
Yeah, but the Supers are going to have to get it done on foot now. Not going to have the luxury of having, you know, a Dacia or a US or something like that as they try to make their way forward. Now, the good news for them in a way is that everybody in front of them is a little bit split up for the most part. VC's pretty coordinated, like in terms of being pretty close to each other, but like Sha Wu, for example, who's on the edge of one of those warehouses in the shipyard, Yuman can just do a little bit of scouting out there, make sure nobody's coming up behind him. He can watch the bridge a little bit.
Hide behind the cargo barges over here. He's got that pier that he can kind of keep an eye on. I mean, there are a couple of foot push capabilities coming out, and I wouldn't be surprised if Supers went for this strategy, maybe to see if maybe they already have or are looking for another emergency pickup that they could use, because we often see bouncing out of Shipyard in that strategy pretty common. There's a couple of foot push paths that you can go for, but that's a problem for later because this circle is going to stay on Shipyard. It's just the guys to the south, so let's get ready. T1 is going to have to be defending or really abandoning that position, while it's going to be a VP, AGAL, Navi, JDG, Full Sense, Sharper. I mean, we even have Shadow as well as Petrichor Road all having to regroup on the hillside we just keep talking about.
Yeah, it's going to get a little bit chaotic maybe. It's starting to really narrow down the amount of playable terrain that is going to be available. AGAL once again going to be in a fight early, but Salalzi spotted out Hausker before he could get that Panzer put into place. And all of a sudden, Tai Lu on the ropes early here against AGAL. Lee was getting, I think, called back in or something here. Falcons taking a bit of a fight against, I believe, Vitality out there. Tittleton's going to take a point for them, but Kong Kong trying to hold the line. Some grenades are going to hit him, though. He's going to throw a stun in response, but if that frag, oh, it almost got him.
The longer this goes on, the scarier it gets. JDG still needs to get in the circle, and they're going to be wrapping over here. They might choose to third party. AGAL feels like they've got the momentum already set up for themselves, but they don't want to overextend onto anything right now. They want to try to reset the pacing just a bit more, see if they can get any knocks. Lee's on the other side of this right now. Has a lot of vision on at least Sololzi on position, but this is kind of isolated. Not too much he can do. Nade's going to land pretty close to Sololzi, but it's going to bounce a couple times, so continue on its merry way. It's going to peek around, and Sololzi just denies Lee to do anything.
Yeah, point blank there. If Lee had cooked that frag grenade a lot more, he could have maybe gotten Sololzi there, but it wasn't cooked at all. He just kind of tossed it in. Meanwhile, Delwyn trying to use the edge of the smokes. Yes, indeed. Goodbye. To try to do something about this. Hemas hits his teammate. That didn't go good.
Well, you know, if you go with explosions enough, sooner or later there's going to be a problem. One dragon, now the last one up for Tai Lu, but only one up. And Hemas, as he's trying to go for the res as fast as possible. JDG is starting to get some vision on the outside of this. Full Sense also encroaching from the south, so the longer this goes on, the more problems continue to mount as One Dragon's across on the other side of the road. I don't know if he's going to go for anything else here, as it's just going to be pretty defended. I mean, he's going for a couple of peaks, but nothing's revealing itself.
This looked like it was going to be a pretty clean fight for AGAL, but it's gone very sideways, very fast.
Sorry, I saw that Vince deny the grenade, and it just reminded me of whenever Barney denied the shot coming up from Kalaris earlier today.
Right.
That was just full rejection.
Yeah, just denied. Absolutely. I mean, not that it would be hard to stop Kalaris. He isn't, you know, the most athletic.
He was trying. He was trying his hardest.
But his best is never going to be good enough, Matt.
I forgot you guys have bad blood. That's part of the lore.
The lore, yeah, exactly.
All right, AGAL looks like they should be able to get their fourth man back up, and poor old One Dragon living up to his name as he is all by himself down here. As JDG going to go ahead and move away more into the west. Looks like Full Sense doesn't really want to get too involved in this. Vitality actually calls an emergency pickup just in case. They're not going to need it. Circle pops right on top of them. And good old Supers, now you got to figure out how you got to get out of Shipyard. Of course, a couple of pads, but it looks like 17 is going to regroup. And I'm more caught up in what's going on with T1, VP, and VC right on the edge of the zone.
Yeah, for sure. That western edge may get a little bit bloody. You know, Full Sense now just setting up a bit of a barricade on their edge of the circle to keep AGAL pinned in if they try to encroach on their territory. Nixie just doing a little bit of a fact-finding mission. I mean, this is incredible from Salalzi right into Lee. Really nicely done. Now, if we get to see the follow-up from Hemas, it didn't go so good. And this right here, that's your teammate there, bud. I mean, I get it. He was trying to get it around the corner to hit the other player, and Delwyn kind of walked into it.
While that was going on, Nixie does get dropped. That's I guess, a minor problem for VP. T1 has a side position just down to the south. That's going to stall out any knock onto VP on this approach. Is really going to throw off the pacing. Uh-oh, Ian flanking back behind this one. Gets a good angle. Lucarux is going to go down, and VP with 2 players already knocked, and a BRDM just waiting to be stolen.
That's huge for T1. That is such a nice find. I mean, we saw how valuable that BRDM was for VP in the previous game, and they're able to deny that one this game. That's awful for Virtus Pro, who played so well on Erangel. Here on Tego, not going to be able to recreate the same magic, most likely. Yes, BB and Crexy, very, very good, but as a duo, nigh impossible to be putting up double-digit kills. We'll have to wait and see. Is Heather kind of right behind Beamy, driving in his general direction?
Nowhere to go. It is going to be Supers making the push to the south. Right as VC is making their rotate, hops inside of a vehicle, and Simon just gets instant drop by Heaven. T1 hears that firefight. Looks like they're trying to backstab, see if they can get a piece of what's going to go on. Falcons also going to be to the east of this with some minimal vision. Trees are going to deny out a lot, but it's going to be enough to make it complicated, as that's going to be another knock. Nade from Rex drops on top of Duckmai.
Yeah, he's able to do some really nice damage up there, is Rex, because Heaven was really in a lot of trouble. Had to go prone into the smoke to get the heal through. Like this from the Supers, they got to clear an edge, and if they can deal with VC, at least make them weak, then they're going to buy themselves a little bit more space. Now, the concern, of course, is going to be that Falcons also going to be up ahead of you, and you got a little bit too far ahead of the rest of them. Did Rex there, and he pays the price. He almost gets knocked by Falcons off screen. Meanwhile, the rest of Supers trying to find some kind of safety into this next circle, and they're getting harassed the whole way in.
I mean, there's a couple little divots and shacks that you can play, but none of it. Feels super good. At least get you away from the Na'Vi firing line just to the south. Anyone's Legend also going to be a do this and maybe distract T1. So with DL down, it's going to be